All right, let's unpack one of the biggest, most important power struggles of our time. It's happening constantly, silently across every border and right through the device you're probably holding in your hand. It's a battle for control in the digital age, and it all comes down to a concept called digital sovereignty.
And just so you know, the thinking behind this explainer is pulled straight from the pages of the book Homo Servus, The Collapse of Human Sovereignty in the Digital Era.
So, let me ask you a quick question, just to get right to the heart of it. Imagine your country passes a great new law to protect your privacy. Sounds good, right? But what if the company that holds all your data, we're talking your photos, your private messages, everything, is based halfway across the world, playing by a totally different set of rules? Who's really calling the shots then? See, it's complicated.
That exact problem, that tension right there, is the core of what we call the digital sovereignty paradox.
So what is it really? Well, think of digital sovereignty as this never-ending tug of war. In one corner, you've got nations, governments, trying to enforce their own rules on their digital space. But in the other corner, they are completely dependent on a global internet, on platforms and data that are zipping across borders every single millisecond.
The perfect real-world example of this is the EU's GDPR privacy law. It's one of the toughest, most comprehensive data protection laws on the planet. But here's the catch. For it to actually have any teeth, it needs US-based giants like Google and Meta to play along. That right there shows you the whole game. A powerful European law still relies on the goodwill of foreign corporations.
And that dependency leads us right into the next huge piece of the puzzle. The incredible, almost mind-boggling rise of corporate power, a force that is now directly challenging the authority of countries themselves.
The scholar Shoshana Zuboff nailed it when she said the whole digital economy is basically built to do one thing: suck up our personal data and turn it into a product. She calls this surveillance capitalism, and it's not just a threat to you and me. It's a direct challenge to the power of the state.
And this brings us to the new kings, the new power brokers of our age, companies like Amazon, Meta, and Google. These aren't just websites anymore. They control the actual plumbing of our digital world. And if the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal taught us anything, it's that their global reach lets them operate in a gray area, often beyond the grasp of any single nation's laws, influencing everything from what we buy to how we vote.
So, faced with all this, how are countries fighting back? Well, not together, not at all. Instead, what we're seeing is a splintering, with different countries creating their own competing models for how the internet should work.
And really, two big approaches are taking shape. On one side, you've got China's model, total state control. We're talking the Great Firewall, heavy censorship, and rules that say data has to stay inside the country. Then, on the other side, you've got the US model, which promotes a more open, free market internet. But, let's be real, also uses its control over the tech infrastructure for its own strategic goals, like surveillance and cyber sanctions.
But here's the kicker. This fight isn't just about politics. The problem is baked right into the technology itself. The internet was literally designed to ignore the very idea of borders.
The internet's fundamental DNA is decentralization. Data isn't supposed to flow neatly from point A to point B. It's designed to find its own path through this massive tangled web of networks and cloud servers all over the world. Think less like a highway system with neat border crossings and more like a chaotic spiderweb. It was never meant to respect the lines we draw on a map, and that's a huge problem for any government trying to lay down the law.
And this has created something new, what some are calling algorithmic leviathans. What a phrase, right? These are huge AI systems that are so big, so global, and so complex that our old-school laws can't even begin to wrap their heads around them, let alone control them. They're like new digital beasts roaming the earth.
So when you mix all this together, the politics, the borderless tech, the corporate power, you're left with these really tough, almost impossible trade-offs. The source material calls them enduring digital dilemmas. And believe me, there are no easy answers.
The first dilemma is a classic: security versus openness. A country, for totally valid reasons, wants to protect its digital infrastructure from attack, so it builds firewalls. But those same walls that keep the bad guys out can also end up trapping its own citizens in, stifling free expression and cutting them off from the global conversation.
Next up, dilemma number 2, control versus innovation. A government says, hey, to protect our citizens, all their data has to be stored on servers inside our country. Seems logical. But the unintended consequence? You can accidentally cut your country off from the global tech ecosystem, slowing down the very economic growth and innovation you were trying to encourage.
And the third big dilemma is ambition versus reality. This one's huge. A country might have this grand plan to become totally self-sufficient. We'll make our own computer chips, our own cloud infrastructure. But then reality sets in. The supply chains for this stuff are so incredibly globalized, so interconnected, that true technological independence is, for most, a total fantasy.
Okay, so it all sounds pretty messy, right? Paradoxes, dilemmas. Is there any way to move forward? Well, let's take a look at how people are trying to navigate this future.
One of the most important efforts happening right now is the European Union's AI Act. This is a really big deal because it's one of the first major attempts to not just react to technology, but to actually shape it from the ground up, trying to make sure it's built on a foundation of democratic values and public safety.
But look, at the end of the day, no single country, not even a bloc like the EU, can solve this alone. It's just too big. The only real path forward is going to require a ton of cooperation across borders, new technical standards that can actually keep up with the pace of change, and powerful safeguards to protect our basic rights.
Which really leaves us with the final, massive question, maybe the defining question of our century. Is it even possible to build a digital world that is both sovereign and shared? Can nations protect their people while also preserving the open global spirit of the internet that has changed our world so profoundly?
Now, the concepts we've zoomed through today are just scratching the surface, and they all come from the book Homo Servus, The Collapse of Human Sovereignty in the Digital Era.
If this has sparked your curiosity and you want to go way deeper on this stuff, you can find the book on Amazon.
And you can always find more information at the official website. Thanks so much for joining us.